Year after year, autism continues to rise at an alarming rate in American children, one fact few would dispute. So why is the topic so toxic in debate? If you would want to hold a hearing on an issue like vaccines and autism, your own leadership might fight you on that because of the financial influence the pharmaceutical industry
No, they wouldn't
has.
fight you. They would kill it. It's dead.
This week, we tackle the taboo subject of autism and links to vaccines as the Trump administration's CDC begins to actually follow the science.
If you're living with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis or
pre-1997, you rarely saw a drug ad, and that's because the FDA enforced the regulation.
The new head of the FDA is promising to pump the brakes on what he's called pill pushers.
We're going to crack down.
This week, a new sheriff steps into the Wild West of pharmaceutical advertising.
After 50 years of striking fear in America's enemies, a farewell for a fierce airframe.
Is there any other plane in the Air Force that can do what the A-10 can do?
Not in my opinion.
We look at an airbase pivot toward the new face of war.
Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. We begin today with America's still growing autism epidemic, a crisis that in terms of sheer numbers deserves much more attention than it's gotten over 2.5 decades. The newest data, updated every 2 years, continue to show an alarming climb. Today, at least 1 in 31 8-year-olds have autism. That's more than 2.2 million children.
One area that we are closely examining, as the president mentioned, is vaccines.
At a White House event with President Trump at his side, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced a massive research effort to identify possible root causes, including food dyes, painkillers during pregnancy, and vaccines. 7-year-old twins Drew and Dylan are taking a break from schoolwork, which can be a special challenge. Their parents, Kimberly and Demique Adams, say they first knew something was wrong when the boys were toddlers.
2, 3, Their language started to regress. It seemed like their connection was different around 2, a little bit, before 2. And so they weren't responding to their names. So they were just regressing in some of their skills.
Did you go to the doctor and say, we're concerned, or did the doctor do some milestone test? Or?
No, my wife's intuition drove it.
They enrolled the twins in early intervention and got the official diagnosis, autism.
You do grieve, a lot of people don't talk about that guilt that parents feel when they get the diagnosis, and they're heartbroken because we were, because we didn't know what was ahead of us. Is it good?
No.
Drew and Dylan are among America's autistic children who are visible. They can go out in public. But more than 330,000 children have autism so severe they're rarely seen by the outside world. Mary Holland heads up the nonprofit Children's Health Defense, which advocates on child health issues. What is the current status of how much autism is in the United States today?
So the current data is that 1 in 31 children aged 8 in the United States has autism.
Like many parents, Holland says her son regressed into autism after his battery of vaccines at age 2.
It was very clear there was no cogent explanation for what was happening to him other than he had had very serious toxic exposures through his early recommended vaccination schedule. There's no such thing as a genetic epidemic. It must be epigenetic or purely environmental.
In simple terms, meaning there could be a genetic component that predisposes somebody to the injury if they have some kind of trigger or other exposure.
So you brought this out most importantly, Sharyl, in your interview with Bernadine Healy, who was at the time the head of, or had just retired recently as the head of the National Institutes of Health.
It sounds like you don't think the hypothesis of a link between vaccines and autism
is completely irrational.
When I first heard that there was a link between autism and vaccines, I thought, well, that's silly. The more you delve into it, if you look at the basic science, if you look at the research that's been done in animals, if you also look at some of these individual cases, and if you look at the evidence that there is no link, what I come away with is the question has not been answered. This is the time when we do have the opportunity to understand whether or not there are susceptible children, perhaps genetically, perhaps they have a metabolic issue, mitochondrial disorder, immunological issue, that makes them more susceptible to vaccines, plural, or to one particular vaccine, or to a component of vaccine, like mercury.
Probably there's a subset of people who have a certain genetic predisposition, and when they come in contact with the mercury in vaccines, or the aluminum in vaccines, or all of the antigens, the formaldehyde, the polysorbate 80, there's all kinds of very toxic ingredients in the childhood vaccine schedule.
Associations between vaccines and autism are loudly disputed, yet well documented in more than 200 scientific papers and court documents. In addition, autism once appeared on the warning label for a DTaP vaccine. The government secretly agreed vaccines triggered autism in a girl named Hannah Poling and paid her millions in a landmark settlement, but had the record sealed so the public wouldn't know. CDC's top immunization safety official, Frank DiStefano, admitted vaccines may trigger autism in vulnerable children like Hannah Poling. CDC's senior scientist William Thompson claimed the agency covered up data linking MMR vaccines to autism in Black boys. Famed pediatric neurologist Dr. Andrew Zimmerman reversed his original stance and determined vaccines can cause autism after all, but says when he told Justice Department lawyers, they fired him as an expert witness and covered up his opinion. And most recently, a study reported vaccinated kids face a 170% greater risk of autism. Both Democrats and Republicans have told me there's been a long-standing effort in Congress to protect the vaccine industry. If you would want to hold a hearing on an issue like vaccines and autism, your own leadership might fight you on that because of the financial influence the pharmaceutical industry
No, they wouldn't
has?
fight you. They would kill it. It's dead. They don't even want to discuss it. It's dead on arrival. If you as an individual member want to take on the pharmaceutical industries, it's forget it.
Can you describe an incident or just how that would go?
It would typically be in a hallway or on the street, and people would come up to you and say, you really need to, back off on this. It could be bad for the community or bad for the country or bad for you.
For every study or allegation linking vaccines and autism, the industry and other vaccine defenders have lengthy counterpoints.
No, vaccines do not cause autism. It just so happens that kids get several vaccines around the same time, that some children start to show signs of autism. But that's a coincidence, not a cause.
Based on dozens of studies and everything I know as a physician and a scientist, there's no link between autism and vaccines.
There are a lot of other chemical exposures kids are getting today as well.
Absolutely.
As someone who focused on vaccines early on, are you looking at other contributing causes?
We're also looking at the water. We're also looking at the air. We're also looking at the food supply. We're looking at the pesticides that are used. And we believe that it is a toxic load that we have to look at. You can't look at one factor. They integrate. They're synergistic.
This past week, Health Secretary Kennedy said no stone will be left unturned.
Historically, NIH has focused almost solely on politically safe and entirely fruitless research about the genetic drivers of autism. And that would be like studying the genetic drivers of lung cancer without looking at cigarettes. And that's what NIH has been doing for 20 years.
In addition, based on NIH research, the FDA says it's approving a prescription form of an essential B vitamin for treating autistic children with speech issues. The American Academy of Pediatrics, funded in part by the vaccine industry, doesn't want any part of Kennedy's effort examining autism when it comes to vaccines. The group says devoting more research dollars to answer a question that is already known does not add to our knowledge about the safety of vaccines. It does a disservice to individuals with autism and their families by diverting funding that is needed to learn more about autism and how we can strengthen supportive communities. For their part, the Adams say they do not blame vaccines for their children's autism. With help, the twins have progressed from no language and few skills to conversations and interactions.
1, 2, 3, team. I mean, we don't believe in a cure because I don't believe it's a disease, right? So it's nothing to cure. It's a neurotype, right? And so you have to get the right services in order to adapt to the way someone learns or someone thinks or the way someone's brain is wired.
But when I tell you what I got from how to love differently,
yeah,
it's nothing any child could have gave me as far as me as an individual evolving and developing, right? And I just think when people see some of these things, they think of the negative, right? But like the special like joy I get in their milestones, the small incremental milestones that I just took for granted if I had a typical kid, like you can't beat that.
For more on this story, listen to my podcast, Full Measure After Hours. Coming up on Full Measure, radical change is coming to Big Pharma's most powerful marketing tool. A new FDA crackdown is threatening the drug industry's most powerful marketing tool and could reshape what Americans see and believe about their health. For decades, prescription drug ads have flooded screens promoting quick fixes and fueling what critics call a culture of over-medication. Lisa Fletcher reports on a new chapter in the battle over pharmaceutical advertising as regulators step in after years of little oversight.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well.
Only 2 countries in the world allow this kind of advertising, the U.S. and New Zealand.
If you're living with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis or
Here at home, direct-to-consumer pharmaceutical ads worth $10 billion in annual revenue to broadcasters have been a TV fixture for decades, but they've largely gone unchecked until now, as FDA Commissioner Marty Makary told Full Measure.
We're going to crack down. And so we have got thousands of letters that are going out. We have enforcement letters that are going out after the entire world of enforcing these ads had dwindled to no enforcement.
Along with those letters, the FDA is also issuing approximately 100 cease and desist letters to stop deceptive ads already on the air. Historically, enforcement has been weak. The FDA issued about 130 letters a year in the late 1990s, dropping to just 3 in 2023 and none in 2024.
Pre-1997, you rarely saw a drug ad, and that's because the FDA enforced the regulation that you had to state what the risks are. Look, there are drugs that have serious risks, and people are not aware of those risks. They think, I'm going to be singing and dancing and swimming and whatever they're doing. That is something that we have to take a close look at.
At Hims & Hers, we believe our customers should feel confident about what they put into their bodies. That's why
one of the first companies targeted, Hims & Hers, an online pharmacy that mixes its own version of a drug with the same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy, and competes against Big Pharma. In a warning letter, the FDA called the company's marketing false or misleading, saying it implies that the company's products are the same as an FDA-approved product when they are not, and are therefore misbranded. The FDA also warned you should take immediate action to address any violations. Failure to adequately address any violations may result in legal action without further notice, including, without limitation, seizure and injunction. In addition to hims and hers, Eli Lilly is one of several companies hit with FDA warning letters in just the past few weeks.
When migraine strikes, you're faced with a choice.
This ad for migraine medication Ubrelvy, featuring tennis great Serena Williams, was one of the few recent ads flagged before this new crackdown.
Migraine pain relief starts with you.
The FDA warned drug maker AbbVie it overhyped Ubrelvy's benefits, making false or misleading representations about how fast it works compared to clinical trial data. The agency said featuring a celebrity athlete amplifies the misleading claims by making them seem more believable to viewers.
Celebrity endorsements are very important.
Adrienne Fu-Berman is director of Farmed Out, a Georgetown University project that investigates drug industry influence on prescribing. Is there any educational value for consumers to seeing these pharmaceutical ads on TV?
That's certainly the argument that industry uses, that these ads are educational, but there is no educational value at all.
Fu-Berman says these ads are produced to shape what the public sees and often hide what they don't, like serious side effects.
The most important part of an ad is the visuals, and so often there will be very distracting, colorful visuals of people having a good time at the same time that the ad is talking about serious adverse effects. People remember visuals more than they do audio, and they actually get to choose which adverse effects that they say in an advertisement.
If you get sick with COVID-19, someone will feel all alone.
The FDA is also closing a loophole that let drug companies and even government agencies promote vaccine ads as educational without clearly stating the risks.
Last fall, more people were hospitalized from COVID than the flu.
The loophole was widely used during COVID, presenting only upsides while omitting serious potential harms. The FDA says it won't push for an all-out ban on drug ads, but expects the crackdown to force a return to basic truth in advertising.
RSV can severely affect the lungs and lower airways,
which may mean the era of advertising with dancing seniors and miracle pills may soon be over.
So there are laws already on the books. People may wonder, how did the FDA enforce them before now?
They really didn't. I mean, there were red flags that came in from consumers and doctors who saw the commercials, and then they would call or write in to complain. Something important to note, though, the FDA doesn't pre-approve these ads before they go on television. But one of the interesting things they're doing now is they're using AI and other technologies to monitor these ads and sort of preemptively keep an eye on
So
what's
many
happening.
of them. Makes sense.
So many, yeah.
Thanks, Lisa. Ahead on Full Measure, farewell to an American military icon. After 50 years of striking fear in America's enemies, the A-10 aircraft will be retired this month from an Air National Guard base in Maryland. As one warrior fades away, the mission pivots toward a new face of war. Mackenzie Frost reports from the flight line.
It's a smoke signal and distinctive sound that many American troops know well. After waiting for the perfect moment to unleash a 30mm rotary cannon with the ability to fire up to 3,900 rounds per minute, the sound of the A-10 Thunderbolt swooping in can often mean the difference between life and death.
Sometimes you can tell by the urgency in their voice, the situation. You'll hear gunfire in the background, things like that.
The A-10 has been a hallmark for destruction on the ground overseas. Colonel Chris Palmer of the Maryland Air National Guard knows what it's like to be in the sky when soldiers need him the most.
What does that feel like for you?
Oh man, the adrenaline gets going right away. The best thing that you can do is take a deep breath and slow down, because the situation they're in may be the toughest situation they've ever had in their life, and they need a calm attack pilot presence to arrive to sort the situation out for them.
Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Griffin has also deployed with the Guard overseas, this unit completing 8 combat deployments since 9/11.
I've been approached hundreds of times in my life from random strangers that have, thanked me for saving their lives or their friends' lives. It's pretty powerful.
With a gun designed to pierce armor, the A-10 was developed in the 1970s to counter Soviet tanks in Europe. First introduced in 1977, these flying tanks took off in popularity and use during the Gulf War. And in the 90s and 2000s, the military leaned on the A-10's capabilities to overwhelm American adversaries all over the Middle East.
Is there any other plane in the Air Force that can do what the A-10 can do?
Not in my opinion.
Soldiers' admiration for the plane evident all over social media feeds too.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's where they were.
Despite the support from pilots and soldiers, the Pentagon has tried to retire the A-10 several times in the last decade, only to be saved by Congress. But now, the end of the runway has arrived for the A-10 as the Pentagon shifts toward a more modern fleet. Without aircraft, the Air National Guard in Maryland will zero in on the next critical mission, cybersecurity. In modern warfare, you don't have to be a superpower to cripple your enemy. Only internet access and an army of hackers can bring down both economies and infrastructure.
When you see an A-10, for example, and you see, a bomb on it, you know exactly what that does and what the purpose is. What is an offensive cyber operation?
So that's a tough question to put into short words. At the very basic level, it's about both attacking enemy networks and defending our own.
Colonel Jason Barris is the commander of the Cyberspace Operations Group that has already been part of major military exercises with America's allies.
We say hacker on hacker, so think about access or any type of effect on an enemy network. And beyond that, it gets difficult to talk to because of the nature of what's done and the way that we guard kind of capabilities.
But after flying these aircraft for decades, the A-10 retirement is felt strongly here.
I'll certainly be proud of the legacy. It'll be difficult. I'd be lying if I told you anything different. It will be definitely difficult and definitely leave a void on this flight line for sure.
For Full Measure, I'm Mackenzie Frost in Maryland.
And after a break, what's ahead next week on Full Measure? Coming up next week on Full Measure, there's a fascinating Bitcoin revolution in a small Central American country. Surprisingly, it's an American couple who's been hired by the president in El Salvador to head up the Bitcoin office. Next week, we report from the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender on a money experiment capturing attention around the world. Until next time, we'll be searching for more stories that hold powers accountable. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Sharyl Attkisson.